Welcome
Welcome
back
back
to
to
your
your
dose.
dose.
We're the
We're the
plug
plug
for all things prevention. And I'm your host, Israel. And today we have a special guest and a first time Potter with us. They're both first time, but she's part of the YLC. He's just our special guest. And his name is?
My name is Giovanni Rodriguez. I currently go to New Bern High School, senior, and I'm honored to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Sierra. I'm in 11th grade and I go to New Britain High.
I'm AJ.
Yep, he's already been doing it. And today's prescription is alcohol awareness. We just have a little discussion. April is Alcohol Awareness Month, and we use this month to increase the public awareness and understanding of alcohol misuse. In episodes like this, we hope to reduce stigma and encourage our local communities to focus on alcohol-related issues. If you are someone or someone you know is struggling with the alcohol misuse, you are not alone. At the end of this episode, we will share some resources available to you and places you could go to seek help. Please enjoy this episode. So yeah, today, as I said, our prescription is alcohol awareness. This is a very interesting topic that a lot of us do have experience or we've saw and seen things that has to relate to alcohol abuse in our lives. So it's a lot to talk about. We're gonna open up with how has generational habits impacted your view on alcohol. I'll go first. I'll jump right in. So generational views have impacted my view because growing up, every time the family reunited or there was a family reunion, and everyone was together, or there's a birthday party, alcohol is always the main thing. Like, who has a beer? Like, oh, bring your own beer, or like, we're taking shots, kind of thing. So for me, it's impacting my view. It kind of just normalized it. It's just normal for alcohol to be around, which I don't think should be the case at all. But that's just how I grew up. And that's how it still is to this day. But generationally, since I was a kid, I've always seen just alcohol be normalized. I don't know if it's the same for you guys.
Yeah, actually, I relate to that very well. That's how it's always been growing up. Also, any kind of event, ceremonies with my family, you'll always see someone coming in with the big bottles, and that's typically what all the people do and see. And also, it's normalized within my family for the younger people to also view it as like something that's just all right and fine to do. So very similar in that aspect.
Yeah.
Me personally, like, that doesn't really happen inside my family. They don't really mess with that.
Okay.
I know I can relate to Alex and Giovanni.
Yep.
I come from a Latino family background, and when we go to like events or like we have a house party or like ceremonies that like celebrating, there's a bunch of like the main talk would be like alcohol. Oh, who's bringing this? Oh, I'll make sure to bring this if we're celebrating and stuff like that. So again, yeah, it is like normalized.
Yeah.
And like especially for youth too, they don't like the age limit, like the age like requirements is 21, and like for us it's we don't see it that way. Or like especially like my family, like younger people like around like 15 and stuff like that, especially men, like they'll be allowed to drink and stuff like that.
You think that's how it is do you think that's how it is in a lot of families? Like, a lot of Hispanic households are usually like, oh, like, if you're younger, you're allowed to drink?
Well, especially for like me, yeah, I believe like other like Hispanics, yeah, like they go like through this, like the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's common for me. And I think it starts off a lot as like, oh, like, it's just around your household, so you're interested in it, you're like you're wondering what that is. Like, my parents are drinking it, and maybe my aunt is drinking it, and you're just like, how does this taste? Like, what is this kind of thing? And then I feel like that's how it goes from there. Like, oh, you like, do you want to taste it? Like, I feel like adults don't shield. Well, in my household, it's been Like
Yeah.
it's not really been shielded. Kind of, it's kind of been like, oh, we drink, so like we kind of expect our kids to drink, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's very traditional within my family. Especially like coming from like the origin of my family, the country they came from. That was just my grandfather. He originally grew up inside of a bar. Really, it was like bar-ish area.
Yeah.
And my great grandfather as well. After school, they would go straight to like the bar area where they would play pool a lot, oftentimes. But they're surrounded by an area of just older men drinking all day. So
Yeah.
you know, at some point they get influenced to it as well, and that just grew bad habits within my family.
Okay.
And that broke out. It was like a bad virus, really, because it was just so easily implemented to them because they were like 13, 12, younger than us.
Yeah.
But being introduced to such heavy things that they don't even know what they're really getting into, just to feel that sense of joy. And current to this day, it even when I was younger, like my cousins that are similar in age, they would always view their parents as a role model or like inspiration because they didn't have a true one, or didn't know what role model to really look for at that time. So they always viewed it as something that was a norm, and they would try to get into it as well to see what was so good about it from my family. And it was really their escape. That's what it just grew to become. So that it is definitely very similar in my aspect for that family. I can't really speak for all
Yeah.
to,
I don't think
to an
we can,
extent.
yeah. I don't think it's
that's
fair.
really a hard thing to do, yeah, because everybody just grows up different. It definitely depends on the environment you grow up in, because I feel strongly that from the background they came from, which was Puerto Rico, and then moving here into a still impoverished area,
Mm-hmm.
it was just like all they seen and knew
Okay.
to really get over certain things.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. We all come to a consensus that is the norm, but like for your family, it's not. Why do you think it's different for you?
Uh, I don't know. Like my grandparents didn't really do that, so my mom and my dad weren't really influenced by
Yeah.
their parents, and my grandma doesn't like that at all.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to think about the influence of it, because my my grandma and my grandpa are both avid drinkers. They drink, like, normally whenever I'm over there, they're always drinking, but they're not affected, I guess. Like I guess they're drinking is kind of just like their state that I've always seen them in, so it's just normal to me. But like you talk about the influence, like they didn't, your grandparents didn't like influence your parents to drink, but so my grandparents drinking influenced my mom. I guess it normalized it for my mom, but then the opposite effect happened to me, where it's like I see my mom and my grandparents drinking, and that doesn't make me want to drink at all. It makes me want to actually not drink. Understanding what comes with it, like addiction, and first of all, spending money. It's like I'm gonna drink something that's not good for me and it costs a lot of money. Like, it's double whammy. I'm not trying to do that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I just think it's important to highlight, like, influences like influence just, it falls different in different people, or in that case it could be like your grandparents don't drink, and then it's your parents' turn, and they're like, oh, my grandparents didn't drink, well, let's try it, kind of thing. Like, let's try. I see people, and we also talked about like people go to it as an escape, like to have fun, and it's like why do we feel as if like people need to drink to have fun? I've always wondered that.
I think it's just because some people really aren't built in with that natural high, or also they don't have that certain group that make them feel fun, and also what they grow up around, not feeling that sense of joy,
Yeah.
because they're growing up around seeing it. If they grow up in a household of people that do drink, they just see it as an outlet for them, so they're able to switch their emotions off as well, or anything they have going on at home, to kind of forget it and avoid certain situations, and get that quick fix.
Yeah.
It's-
We agreed that our families like use it to celebrate. Like, why do you think that's like a celebration? So I think personally, families use it to celebrate because I think just because that's just what always has happened, you know? I think drinking is a culture. I think it's part of a culture. I think it's part of family culture, if I'm not mistaken. Cause like I can't think of another reason why it's like, oh, let's take shots, you know, like shots, or it's like, oh, let's drink beer to like ease off, you know.
To have like a fun time.
Yeah.
It's like to get that dopamine in you to just feel out of yourself. It's an out of body experience you get when you do it. So they're kind of more loose and free with their words. They don't have that conscious decision behind holding back certain things depending on how tipsy or drunk they get from it. So it just allows them to get that instant gratification to be able to have quote unquote fun, you know?
Yeah.
Mm.
In this, you know how they're not like fully aware of what they're doing. This like leads to like violence, and like especially like at parties when there's like alcohol and stuff like that. It could get violent, or
Yeah.
there's like that uncle
Yeah.
that has to go home early because he's been drinking too much. So like there's like experiences like that in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah. How do we feel like alcohol impacts relationships?
Mm.
Because it's big for me. Like I said, my grandparents drink, or they're pretty average drinkers, but a lot of times they'll drink and then argue. So it's like I just don't understand, you know. But
I think there's there's a good amount, and then there's times where you can just overdo it. Cause I feel like you can still have a healthy, grounded relationship and a pretty established bond while drinking, but not overdoing it. You know, if you have the two that have a couple that has dates, but they also involve like a little bit of wine here and there, you know, they're under the influence, but they're not drunk and, you know, getting into something that's going to have them hungover and regretting it in the morning or feeling sick or oozy, you know?
yeah.
So I think there's a certain extent at which you can go to in a relationship. And I feel like once you overstep that, depending on the partner's boundaries, it can really impact where that leads you with each other. Because it just leads to bad situations, such as you mentioned before, with violence being the biggest. A lot of domestic cases just come from the effects of substance abuse. So it can be a very toxic weapon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you are unaware. Like, not like, because some people, like, even if they're under like the influence, like they still at least like they know their name. Like there's like a point. Like there's like a point. And if you're self-aware and like, oh, okay, if you're self-aware and say, okay, I could have one drink. One drink is fine. And like if you're like over the, like, you know, if you're 21 and up.
21.
Yeah, just if you're self-aware, I feel like you should be able to, you know.
Yeah, like knowing your limit.
Yeah.
Like knowing when it's too much. Like knowing when you're incapacitated and you can't control yourself, you know.
I wonder if that's like what gets people to the point of where they start finding that addiction because they want to find their limit, or they feel they can surpass their limit in that specific area. It makes me question that.
I don't know if for says that's why they get to their addiction, because they're trying to find their limit. I think it must come from the way it makes them feel. I think all addiction comes from the way it makes it feel, because I mean, everyone is addicted to their phones. A lot of people are addicted to coffee, and it's because of the way it makes you feel. Like being on your phones, like feels good. Drinking coffee, it feels good to have like be energetic. So I think it has to be the way it makes you feel. It must ease for the people who are addicted. It must ease their whatever they have going on. I feel. I don't know. I can't speak from experience, but this is what I feel. It must ease them enough to the point where they're not worried about the health repercussions. You know. That's all. That's the big thing for me. Like, I'm not gonna be healthy, kind of thing. You know. Like I'm gonna drink this and then I'm gonna my liver could this could fail my liver. It's not really for me. You know.
Yeah. Like you just said, not having any experience with that, me being the opposite, obviously trying it because it was just a normal thing in my community
Yeah.
of people that I
Uh-huh.
surrounded myself with. So and like I believe my first time was probably 2 years ago, something around that. But I never seen the harm in it or searched for it. But I decided to still do it within the party environment. You know, I went out with a group of friends, was introduced to it, and I thought, oh, what's the harm it could really do? And it kind of just gave me that negative effect towards it, because that entire time it just made me very anxious and aware of and paranoid of my entire surroundings, and it was like it felt like I shouldn't be doing it.
Mm.
And it kind of just dimmed the moment for me, to be honest. It wasn't really the satisfaction I thought that would come out of it, or would give me that sense of joy from doing it. It was the exact opposite, actually.
Yeah. That shows. Well, also that shows your values though, because you feel like when you did it, you felt like you were doing something wrong. So that means on the inside, you valued like not drinking, and you knew that that wasn't wrong. So for you to feel that, that's because that's how you felt on the inside. And then you also spoke on how like it dimmed the moment kind of thing for you,
Yeah.
and that's big. It's like why are you gonna partake in something that is not increasing, especially not increasing your happiness? And it's like a lot of kids. That's how a lot of students and youth get introduced through parties. Same for me. It was the same for me.
Yeah, it's cause it's definitely that wanting to fit in kind of vibe, like feeling that sense of belonging, and being in an area of like older people. I would say majority was definitely older in that place, so of course you're gonna find it at every corner. Um,
It's socially like normalized.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like nobody who cares like who they're giving it to. If you're in that environment,
Yeah.
it's like yeah, you could have some. Everybody's drunk at that point, so
Yeah.
they're just
So
giving it up to
it's like
you know.
what you're around. Like that example, like you can have some, you can have some. That's peer pressure, especially when you're at a party and everyone's drunk. I think
Yeah.
that's just natural peer pressure. Like what are instances that like you maybe felt peer pressure like during like around alcohol or substance use? Like
I know, especially, there was a situation where I was at like a family gathering, like a little celebration, and I was like not even a year into our council.
Mhm.
And they had already known what I like what we stand for and like what we do, and I kept like denying because they were like trying to give me alcohol, and they were
Mhm.
like, oh, it's just a little bit, oh, it's just a little bit, it's fine, it's just a sip. And I was like, no, that's not what I stand for.
Mhm.
Like I don't need that. And I kept like refusing, and I kept refusing, and they kept on. They're like, oh, but why not, why not?
Mhm.
Yeah, and it just made me feel really uncomfortable that
Yeah.
it's normalized. And I feel very uncomfortable in situations like that, especially alcohol and substances and everything, because I've seen the way it really changes people.
Yeah.
There's someone close to me, there's someone close to me, and substances, especially, not even just like talking about alcohol, like I seen how it really changed people. So I really like see that, and I don't want that to happen to
Mhm.
like a relationship I like have, or like any connections.
Mhm.
No.
Yeah. That whole peer pressure in your instance, it had to be just because like they feel that they're doing something wrong and they just want to have you do it with them. So like
Mhm.
they don't feel like you're like doing better than them kind of thing. I think that's what goes to my mind. Like I don't understand why if I'm saying no kind of thing, why aren't you respecting my boundaries, you know? And I think it's big ups on you for like being like, nah, like I don't like rock with that. A lot of people, especially high schoolers, don't have that kind of value system of I'm not gonna drink, you know? Like I don't wanna do this. Like I know what it looks like. Like you said, you've seen examples of people who have gone down the wrong path because of alcohol, you know? Um I've seen similar things, you know. Um like I feel like everyone has that one uncle or that one aunt, but it's really my family. Like my older family, just alcohol is just not a good thing that we mix around, you know. Um but yeah.
Uh, first instance was I don't even know what age, but it was definitely a family member. Um, obviously a small offering,
Okay.
like
But it's still peer pressure
yeah,
at the end of the
regardless,
day,
at the
you
end of
know?
the day, and it's coming from a person that you
Yeah, and
you know,
that
you
that kind of
consider is
subconsciously
close.
puts it in your mind like it's all right. Like I'm
Exactly.
getting offered this, and I'm like, I remember being like 8 years old, and then I'm just like, I like smelt a beer, and I'm like, this is disgusting. Like, and they're like, try it, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to try this. But like they're telling me to try it, like that's not like that's not something you should be putting in your kid's head. Like it's a right to try this, you know? I don't feel like that just shouldn't happen, yeah. But it happened to me, so
Yeah. I mean, it is definitely, it falls down to mainly just the people in surrounding areas, like who you're really grouping yourself with, and also your family, like who are they in connects with that are gonna demonstrate these negative behaviors. Do you feel you've ever experienced any sort of peer pressure in any kind of way, or even just like looking at people
yeah.
and
Even
they look a certain way at you as well, to be like,
being in high school, you haven't felt any pressure?
Nah, not really. Like when I see somebody's story and they like post it,
Okay.
it's like that's disgusting.
Hmm. But you probably don't go to any parties or anything like where they're drinking.
Nah.
Yeah. It's kind of
That's good,
proactive.
yeah.
Be proactively avoiding it. I don't go to any parties either. What are some ways you avoided participating in alcohol? Like, what are some strategies? Because we know it's all around us, 24/7. We know it's in our families. And for you, it's like you see on your stories, but it's like your family. You're like speak on that because I think you can speak on that.
Like you
What
repeat
are
like the
some ways
question.
that you feel you've been able to keep away, or strategies that you've been able to avoid, like trying alcohol?
I don't surround myself around like those people like who post on their story. Like I don't really like text them,
Yeah.
or when I see them at school, I don't really like hang out with them. And like if they were like talk about it, like I just remove myself from the conversation.
Okay.
And like yeah,
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
one thing one thing I could say, like the main thing could be our council,
Yeah.
youth leader council.
Mhm.
And especially coming from a background where it's kind of like normalized, like with alcohol and like some substances and stuff like that. um like it really changes your mind, especially on when you learn about how alcohol could really like affect you, and you see all these people just like downing it and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So you're like, oh, okay, now I really don't want to do that. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And like after school programs, I know I go to a Saturday girls group, and that keeps me like it keeps me like away from like the street, away
Mhm.
from like people that involve themselves with alcohol
Yeah.
and like other stuff like that. So it keeps me away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like staying involved in different things. I like that. Like making sure you're active. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. Like being, if you do sports, like AJ does basketball, if you like just things that keep you in the group. Like we are lucky enough to be part of the YLC. Like we know we hope that our group members are integral and are not um doing things that we advocate against. So it's good to be surrounded by people that we think are like minded. Try to find people that are like minded, kind of thing.
Yeah. A strategy for me, I would say, is definitely envisioning my future,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's
kind
big.
of not wanting to repeat that same cycle that
Yeah.
I've had to struggle with.
Mhm.
So like in those moments where it has happened, like I'm glad I got the opportunity to see why I don't want it to continue on forward, not wanting it to fall on top of my future family as well as my kids, to see that and think it's normal in society also. And it is, but it shouldn't be,
Mhm.
It's just what we as a country kind of make to be normal once you reach that age of 21, because most people think, oh, when I get 21, like, oh, I'm about to go experience
About
bars,
to turn up.
like,
I'm about to turn up.
yeah, I'm about to turn up, we about to go to the club, we about to get bottles, like that's people's first instinct once they hit that age requirement. But I don't want that for myself and as well as my kids. So that's a big thing, just looking ahead to the future. Yeah.
Mhm. No, yeah, that's very important. Like, just think about your family. Like, do you like knowing that you've seen like people drinking and like the bad outcomes? Like, you don't want to put that on your kids. Like for me, it's like I see my grandparents and they they're doing it, normalize it for my mom, and my mom just didn't never establish that value of like not drinking. So that's just how it is, and I just don't feel as if I want to introduce my kids to that. So that's why that's a strategy I use. Is the same thing as him, like thinking ahead. Setting yourself up for success. I preach that a lot.
Yeah. Because
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, like from experience as well, like just being at home, like when you're a kid, you want that connection with your family, but those substances just make it a lot harder to do so, because they get doped up and they're just like they're tripping. They don't really understand. They can't comprehend much. So it's really hard to effectively communicate with anyone in that kind of state.
Are there any role models in your guys' life that kind of push you away from it? Because we talked about a lot. I talked about my family, like my family baggage and the drinking involved. But are there different role models that kind of help you? Like we spoke about strategies, but we didn't speak about like role models. That's a strategy in itself.
I know personally, I've told my family I don't have a role model. I've never had a role model until like 2 years ago, until I met Coach O.
Mm-hmm.
And to me he's like a father figure too, and I care what he thinks.
Mm-hmm.
And really just joining like our group, it's really been good for me, and I've been learning like a lot and stuff like that. And him as like Coach O, he's really been a big like role model, because like even if he sees like someone having like a cigarette outside, he'd be like, "Oh, that's crack. Oh,
Yeah, that's
don't do
crack.
that."
Don't be doing that. He's doing crack. Yeah.
Like I love that. I love that, and I love that he's not like he's not you like he doesn't. Well, I don't know on his own time, but like
Yeah.
alcohol and stuff, like he doesn't do that like around kids, and he's not like that.
Mhm.
He actually is like a role model. He does what he like, like he what he preaches, he actually like
He
does,
Yeah. No, I know. We've went to restaurants with him many times, and he's not getting alcohol. He's not telling us. He's not normalizing it for us.
No.
Which is kind of a breath of fresh air, because we're not the only members in our group that experience alcoholism.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that role model, especially Coach O. That's someone that we, like you said, you care about how they think of you. So it's like let me not do this, not only for myself, but from people who I care about, and to make them proud.
Personally, my biggest role model of the few that I've had is, we can name drop right now.
Just what who they are to you.
They're my coach,
Yeah.
like literal coach from football. Definitely my biggest inspiration in that aspect, because he was a man of many things as well. He wrote books, he made songs, played football in college, and he just never fell into that, and also preached that it just wasn't something you should partake in. So viewing it as how I see him, like he's successful in my eyes because of the things that he's avoided. And also being surrounded in a similar area where it's so just normal. Like we keep repeating that word because it is. Like him growing up and living in the same area and surrounded by people who did it so often, he just never fell into that temptation, and just said that and preached that it just should never be done as well, for the sake of your safety, your health, and just the goals you want to get to in the future.
Yeah. Good thing I got from that was it's easy to succeed, but it's hard to succeed when you have when you're facing obstacles. It's hard to avoid the obstacles.
Yeah, obstacles are inevitable, but change is not.
Yeah.
Changes, it can hit you at any moment.
He was able to avoid those obstacles and succeed. That's life is full of obstacles. Get peer pressure to drink or do other drugs or maybe eat unhealthy foods or make the wrong decisions. So it's important to avoid those things and know which ones to avoid and which opportunities to take. You know. But do you have any role models, AJ?
A role model for me got to be my mom. She tells me like how bad it is, and she tells me like how her friends like when they do it, how they get all drunk and nasty, and yeah, she really doesn't like to see that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's big. Like your mom having that direct one-on-one influence. You know, not a lot of kids have that where they even respect their mom. You know, like my mom said, like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. Like, I'm about to go party. You know, like I'm about to get drunk and nasty, like you said. like, like majority kids probably don't have that relationship, so it's really good. Like appreciate that. You know, for me, Coach O, like we said, is big. You know, I have Anida. These are two adults that just don't participate around us, you know, like whatever they do on their free time, but they know we're a group that has youth and promoting youth prevention, so they make it known that like they also don't agree with alcoholism and like the abuse of it. They might partake in their own setting, in their own comfortable setting, but they're never around us, and they always respect us. And I feel like this gives us a safe space to be just vulnerable around them, you know, like they respect, they're helping us be who we want to be, so that gives us respect for them, kind of thing. Also I have a teacher that role models for me that like it's just not good. She giving me life examples of how she's faced repercussions for like drinking alcohol even a little bit, like not being able to take care of certain people or like do your due diligences. That's a big word. Do your due diligences because you're under the influence. For me, it's always been a disconnect because it's like I think I can I think I can have fun at any time. You know, I don't feel like I need anything to have fun. And it's like if I were like to drink, like if I'm going to drink alcohol, it's going to make me not who I am. So it's an example of like why would I want to drink something that's gonna take me out of who I am. And like say like someone gets like hurt in my family or something happens where I need to be there for someone and I can't, it just takes me out of that space. And it's just like, why would I want to do that to myself? You know, why would I want to set myself up for failure? You know, that's what really has been like a strong code mechanism for me.
Yeah, I think that's huge. To keep you away from it, like thinking about not only the future, like you said, but also the current state of your family. Like you want to be that person that's reliable, and you just simply can't be that when you're partaking in certain things like alcohol abuse.
Yeah, especially for my little brother. You know, I have a little brother. You guys have little siblings. You have a little sibling?
Yeah, I do.
Do you have a little sibling, AJ?
Nah,
you're like a young boy. For my little brother, I think it's like important to model for him. You know, he's already told me, he's like, Alex, I don't think I want to drink. Like, I don't want to drink alcohol. And I'm like, just like it makes me proud. You know, like he's at least learning something from me, something good. So I'm like, it's good to know that my efforts is helping change, like Gio said, like your generational curses, you know. Yeah, is that the same thing for you or your sibling?
Yeah, I have a little sibling, and she sees like the programs I like go into, like a after school program and here as well, and she's always like, oh my goodness, when can I join? How can I join? And I'm like, oh, okay. She sees like the things I do, and she gets excited because she wants to do them as well.
Yeah.
So
how old is your sister?
She's 10.
Oh my God, my brother's 10. He told me the same thing. He's like, when can I join? He's like, he always trying to come with me when we go, and he's trying to join right now, honestly. Like he wants to go to the meetings, and I'm like, well, we gotta wait. Like, got like 2 more years, like relax. But I think, does that make you proud, like to see, like to understand that your sister, like,
it does make me proud, especially that she's not seeing like the things around her affect her, especially in school right now. I know there's like a lot of temptations, and even being 10, I don't know, maybe they be like vaping or like they could even have alcohol in the bathroom. Like we never know.
These days, because it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I'm proud of her though.
Yeah, no,
'Cause that takes a
exactly.
lot, especially seeing all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with your family too, like
Yeah.
seeing it be normalized, like 'cause it's the same thing for my brother. It's like I'm happy that it makes me happy that he is already kind of understanding like values, that I've tried to
Yeah.
instill in him and myself. But yeah, yeah, I know you have a younger sibling.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My little sister. She's 7. She's never seen it. She's not really introduced to any of it. Like she's not put in those scenarios or places to really visually see those events happen. That I have.
Mm.
So I just hope from what I hope she's just taking away that it's unsafe, but I know she just doesn't have the opportunity to even see that really, because
Yeah.
she's never really in those areas, which that comforts me.
Mhm.
That brings me some pride there,
Yeah.
knowing.
When do you? And we have younger siblings. I'm sorry that this doesn't really apply to you, but or when have you, or when do you think that your younger sibling first is gonna start to like experience
Our
peer
cousins
pressure?
as well, like it expands beyond.
Yeah.
Like if you have cousins as well, AJ,
Oh
like
yeah,
it can
cousins
still
as
be
well.
applicable.
Like when do you think at the age like you're gonna start to like you start to for at least us like from coming from experience like when do you think they'll start to like experience that peer pressure for alcohol?
I would say, especially like your teen years, but it all depends. It all depends, like your background, like your
Mm.
environment, wherever you be around. It all depends. But speaking from experience, I would say like especially from like parties and stuff like that, like 13 and up. But maybe if it's just like, oh, if we're talking about, oh, it's like a little something
Yeah.
still, I would say 10 because uh, there's like this drink called coquito.
Yeah.
Even though it's a
Yeah,
little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
they'd
it's
be
still
like, "Oh, it's
sounds.
okay. You
It's
can at least
okay.
taste
Yeah.
it." But they taste that it tastes like alcohol, and they're like,
Uh-huh.
"Ew." So I like that. I like that at least. But
Yeah. Yeah. But it's still like normalizing it.
yeah, it's still
Like it's
normalizing, which is
fine.
bad.
Yeah. I think. Well, I hope it's different. I hope, but like you said, like 13 around like 7th, 8th grade is like where people start to get invited to parties, and sadly, alcohol is usually involved in those parties. Like we said, it's like it's what we see. So we think, oh, we celebrating, it's a party. Let's have alcohol because like that's what we see. So let's just do that. Let's do what we see. So I think in that case, it's definitely normal for like to be around 12 and 13 to first experience those type of things. I don't know, AJ, if you have seen your friends like start drinking maybe during that age, around that time, or like other people, not your friends, but like other people like around that age.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's common, it's sad, and I think around especially around our demographic, it's normalized. I'm pretty sure there's about 12 to 15 liquor stores just in New Britain alone. 12 to 15, like you wouldn't even think, but there's like 12 to 15 package stores just in New Britain, just that only sell liquor, which is crazy. It's just what's available, it's what's around, and everyone does it, so they keep supplying, and it's sad. I don't know how you guys feel about that. It's like 12 to 15 liquor stores.
No, no, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
But I've seen a lot.
yeah,
But I didn't know it was that many. That is shocking. And
Yeah.
it's really disappointing because we don't need those stores. Even if they
yeah.
make a lot of profit and stuff like that. I'd rather be seeing a bunch of Taco Bells, a bunch of Dunkin' Donuts,
Yeah.
like stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just it's yeah, like you said, it's just very disappointing. Like I think it shows how easily people can get into our community alone, and people also taking advantage of that, because I doubt if you go into like a more urban area, you're not gonna see just like a package store on each
Yeah,
corner,
no.
so I feel like I feel kind of.
I think we did like the study on the next town over, Shellington. I think it was about like six, like half the amount of package stores, and it's crazy because comparing our towns to their town, our town is minority. A lot of it's a diverse population, and we're also heavily our town also has a lot of like apartments, like multifamily. So
Mhm.
these are families that are not coming from like the wealthiest background, but yeah, we have the most package stores. So it's like where are we spending our money? And then Southington is more one families, big houses, and they have less package stores than us. So it's like kind of crazy to see like people with the more money have less package stores. So it's like I don't know. One plus one plus one always gonna equal two. You know, like we're spending our money on the wrong things. I think that's what it. I think
Agree.
that's what that's what that's telling us. You know, sad to me. Um, I don't know. I think we touched on pretty much everything that we wanted to hit. Usually we end off the podcast with one piece of advice that you want to leave to the viewers. We spoke about a lot about surrounding yourself with how we've been surrounded by the wrong people through our families, just naturally. It's not our fault, it's not our family's fault too. They just don't have, they're not educated on like the repercussions before starting. But I think one piece of advice was just find the right crowd, you know. We all talked about how it's important for us to be around our people. Like you have your Saturday hangout with the YW said? The YW?
No, the OIC,
Oh,
but
I
yeah,
see. Okay,
Saturday.
like I see
Yeah.
Saturday. You know, it keeps you from, and I have the YLC, and I have different friend groups that don't partake. So to be safe and to avoid the health repercussions, not being able to be there for your family if you're under the influence, I would say just find people who are like minded,
Mhm.
who don't want to um participate in alcoholism and don't want to do those certain things and are avoiding those certain things. That's my piece. Yeah.
Um. So yeah, also within this, we talked about just like the struggles we individually grew up with and what we seen. And in a small sample, we could see that like 3 out of the 4 people in this room have come to close encounters with the struggles of alcoholism. But my takeaway is that we're all in this room and have dealt with it, but are taking a different route. So I feel like that shows your past traumas and struggles don't define you. You know, you make life what you want it to be, and you take up the opportunity you have. I'm not personally in this YLC because I was just never introduced to it and was unaware. But as you can see, like three great people who have they're on the way to successes have found something that they are passionate about and feel strong about, to also better their selves and their future selves. So I think that just shows a lot of character and how much you can really change family cycles, um, by just taking initiative.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say this like I was gonna say something similar to that. You can about like generation cycles.
Mm.
That's a really big thing, especially in my case right now. I know like especially like seeing like and experiencing these things. I know that I want to stop my generation cycle.
Mhm.
So I know it's like I know it's possible, and that's my advice. I know it might be hard, but also know that you can stop it. You could be the
Mhm.
one to stop it,
Mhm.
even if it's been passed down from generations, you know?
Mm.
I would say just be yourself. Don't try and fit in so much.
Mm.
And yeah.
Yeah. Avoid peer pressure. That's good.
That's a good one.
All right. Yeah. We're gonna wrap it up. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye, peace.